2023 musically was mid. Nah, not really. I can't really talk, can I? You know, for personal reasons. I didn't really listen to as much music as last year.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
But I still have managed to hear some great albums this year, and I really just want to express my appreciation for them. Kicking it off straight away with number 5. You know, die-hard Good Kid Mad Lad viewers will be eager to inform you that I have in fact already covered Travis Scott's Utopia on my channel. So if you haven't seen that video, go watch it already, you fatty. While I still stand with a lot of my mixed opinions on Utopia as a whole, I still think it provides a listener with moments of intensity and euphoria. The shine of light of Utopia is its production, which brings to life a very subversive, gloomy and melancholic atmosphere, which seemingly is a reflection of the mindset that Travis lets us peer into on this album. A post-Astroworld disaster, Traveler's juggling guilt and ambition. Seriously though, the production is absolutely phenomenal. Parts of it feel out of this world. I really like how vocals are treated on this album. One example being Bon Iver's auto-tuned softness on My Eyes, James Blake on Till Further Notice, and
Playboy Carti on Fiend.
You know, there has to be an average of about 32 beats, which is per track on this album, constantly cycling through different melodic ideas and different textures. This album feels colossal in size, Rapture-esque in feel. The song Sirens feels like ancient spirits breaking out of the underworld. The second half of My Eyes is like a rapid ascension into the heavens, soaring through the skies and out of the atmosphere. On Utopia, there are clear homages to Kanye West's Yeezus. I'm thinking about Circus Maximus, for example, with its bombastic drum loop similar to Black Skinhead, and the industrial sounds on the record as well. And if you don't know, Travis actually co-produced some songs off Yeezus, which would make sense to why he would want to come back to that sound. I just really enjoy listening to this album for its listenability and its passion. I can tell just how much care there was in the crafting of these songs, in the production stage and the songwriting stage. It's a lot of very clear emotions that Travis wanted to convey, and that really does come through. And through all that, it delivers a very grand, excellent psychedelic experience, and that is why it's number 5. There are like 3 tracks of sub balls though. Blur's most recent album, The Ballad of Darren, is personal, majestic, twinkling and beautiful, quite frankly. The title of the album comes from the band's long-lasting bodyguard, Martin. I'm joking, his name's obviously Darren. But why? You know, a Blur album in 2023 isn't necessarily going to be the most exciting musical prospect, especially considering, you know, Parklife, for example, is a couple months of turning 30 years old. But I think the maturity of the band is channeled very tightly in a lot of these songs. There's like a real class to a lot of the instrumentation. To start, the Baroque-inspired piano and violin crescendo on The Ballad, and the graceful vocal harmonies on songs like The Everglades and Russian Strings and Barbaric. Amazing song. You know, Barbaric is really great because it manages to channel a lot of the qualities of the album overall into just one really great track. Much like the second track, St. Charles Square, Barbaric has the attitude that classic Blur displayed, with these delayed rock power chords at the start, only to just be quite quickly cascaded away by a really gentle and beautiful indie rock guitar riff. Through instrumentation alone, you wouldn't be able to tell this song is about a pretty tragic romantic breakup, but you would if you were able to read the lyrics of this fantastic bridge that Damon Albarn absolutely nailed. Empty grove, winter darkness, we're taking down the scaffolds very soon. Grow dappled, the lonely baubles on the plane tree. This can of soup and heating up to 10, which leads me to the part where we agreed on different dreams that we had lost. And then that bridge wonderfully transitions into the chorus, and the song reaches its climax. Russian Strings is a loungy indie rock song that carries gentle murmurs of cynicism. It's so peaceful and pretty in its sound, but the lyrics really do indicate a lot of existential resignation. The tenement blocks came crashing down. With headphones on, you won't hear that much. There's nothing fake on earth. There are strings attached to all of us. There's nothing in the end, only dust. When you pull the lever down, I'll be hitting the hard stuff. Which then transitions into an instrumental outro, which is just... The Narcissist is an amazing song, which when I was writing this script again and re-listening to it and reading into the lyrics, it genuinely almost brought me to tears. It's a pretty intense and personal song for a lead single, and it reflects on Damon Albarn's past with his struggles of fame and drug addiction. I saw the solstice, the service station on the road. I took the acid under the white horses. My heart it quickened. I could not tear myself away. Became addiction. If you see darkness, look away. I really enjoy the verbal irony in the second verse. The line, I saw the solstice, makes you think that Damon is going to be reflecting on some kind of grand summertime experience, but he then informs the listener that the solstice is actually the nearest service station to the one in Glastonbury. And with the reputation of music festival drug use, it leads very nicely into the next lines where he reflects on his addiction. I must shine a light in your eyes. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time. With Godspeed, I'll heed the sign. I feel like this very simplistic chorus reflects the metaphors and imagery about the song's themes. I think it could be a reflection on narcissism itself. The I must shine a light in your eyes might refer to checking pupils for dilation, and it could also be about genuine self-reflection. Light referring to a revelation, and the mutual relationship that is displayed on the chorus conveys that he finds reflection within himself by looking into another. We are ensured by Damon that he will not allow himself to fall into the old habits that he once had, leading me to believe that this metaphor is about genuine self-reflection and self-growth. I genuinely really enjoy every single song on this album. I think it's a beautiful and reflective piece of art, and it genuinely makes you really happy to listen to when you really feel the growth and maturity that is on display musically and lyrically. I think Blur had no reason to put out a banger like this, but they fucking did, so thank you very much. Parannoul, no, not them, is a Korean shoegaze / emo artist, which is most easily described as, well, frankly beautiful, but dreamy, hazy, noisy, but tranquil. I absolutely love his album To See the Next Part of the Dream, which is a hour-long shoegaze album, and it just contains so many utterly epic and emotional homemade shoegaze tracks, particularly the 13-minute epic White Ceiling, which is to me one of the best songs of the decade so far. And while I don't speak Korean, it's very easy to connect with what the singer is trying to clearly convey. There are English translations that are available on Genius, and I will be using them, but I will let you know that I'm going to take them with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because I don't think these are official translations. But if you do read into these translations, there are very clear themes of deep sadness, depression and anxiety. On the track Insomnia, there's a reference to the cold of night, which clearly has its direct meaning, but also is obviously a metaphor for the emotions that this person is feeling at night and through insomnia. And I think these feelings are cemented so poetically at the end of the song. I'm not afraid of the morning anymore. The moonlight doesn't shine during the day. The track Arrival, as the title would suggest, kind of details a metaphorical journey through this tunnel. What will welcome us? Rough waves and quiet roads. I feel like I can do anything to go through this tunnel. Will I have the courage? Will you want me as much as I want you? The singer is cautiously singing about the fear and wonder of being in a relationship with a new person, clearly liking it to some sort of car journey when he references going through a tunnel and the quiet roads. The song begins with instruments that are engulfed in fuzz and haze, but over the 7 minutes of the song the track progresses and the intensity of the vocals becomes far more powerful, and as the opening lines repeat towards the end, the track ascends into a marvellous crescendo. We Shine at Night, another absolutely beautiful song which has by far the most catchy and memorable vocal melody on the verse, and an absolutely beautiful and catchy chorus as well. And I think the vocals feel a lot more present on this track, which would make sense if he also thought that this track was a lot more catchier. I mean, just hearing it then, it's explosive in its bliss. The track contrasts a lot with Insomnia with how it references the night time. He associates the night with a past which he is for some reason unable to fully remember or at least re-experience. Sepia-filled days recorded in an old photo album, the night sky that I can't think of anymore, and the promise that I forgot. Fireworks continue, but we quickly lost the night. Until we write our own stories, let's colour every black and white day. If only I could jump into the blurry landscape and get in there. Really awesome touches at the start of every verse. He kind of likens every memory to the way a photo in like a photo book is printed, which kind of colours how he perceives them and remembers them in his mind. You know, the main reason why I love Parannoul and I love this album and connect with it is because I really connect with how much the vocals displayed so much raw emotion, and on top of that, the noise and the grit and the beauty of the instrumentation really colour the songs with so much cryptic serenity. Parannoul consistently managed to transport you to different worlds on this album, and you know, as an ignorant monolingual English twat, the language barrier kind of helps to solidify the dreamy mystique which is created by the music on this album. Every single emotional zenith feels more powerful than the last, and it manages to stir emotions so incredibly well. This album contains some absolutely amazing, heartfelt music. You should absolutely listen to it. This album is fucking bonkers. And you know what makes it fantastic for me, shock horror, is the production. JPEG Mafia outdid himself, is really like underplaying it. The songs are blaring erratic invasions into your eardrums, obscure sampling, battering volume, scattered and booming drums, jittering, glitchy synths, and just so much instrumental unpredictability. And you know, these are just some of the aspects of the sound and production which make Scaring the Hose by JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown some absolutely top tier ear candy. Don't know if you can really call it that. I'll tell you what it is, it's fucking brain scratching, that's for sure. Genuinely though, I'm not just saying it. A lot of albums have great production, a lot of albums have creative ideas, but this album, I genuinely don't know how these beats got put together. I can't wrap my head around it. They are mental. You know, I particularly love the texture that is present in the production. The amount of obscured ad-libs, the sound effects and weird samples from film, TV, fucking YouTube videos. A good example is the track Stepper Pig. Yep, Stepper Pig. This track combines thumping, truck crashing 808s, grumbling, buzzing bass, and a fucking synth that feels like a sword with how it cuts through everything in the mix. It has these dreamy ambient sweeps of synthesizers, and it just has so much to it. Every single track does. You know, the core elements of the instrumental sound absolutely amazing, but all of the ad-libs, the short DJ scratches, the sound effects, the vocal samples, the distortion on so much of it just makes everything feel so like cramped, but in the best way possible. Everything is so full. And granted, this album is very maximalist, but still to manage to blend them all seamlessly and make them feel exciting but also right is very, very commendable. You know, Garbage Pail Kids has this weird Japanese commercial sample of these like kids chanting with like pots and pans, I'm pretty sure, which is then crashed into by this meaty fucking bass. You know, Perfect is probably the catchiest song on this album, and it makes me want to fucking deploy missiles in them. It's got this badass horn sample, this fucking orchestral breakdown in the sample as well when JPEG Mafia enters towards the middle of the track. It just feels like absolute triumph. It could be Smash Bros menu music, but it also could be the theme to an invasion into a Colosseum arena floor. Compared to the rest of the album, the track Kingdom Hearts Key is quite uniquely blissful. It samples a Japanese composer called Yoko Anno, who composes for anime, and has a feature from the up-and-coming rapper and producer Red Veil. It's certainly the least cluttered and most focused song, instrumentally and structurally, on the album, and it breaks up the pace quite nicely. Jack Harlow Combo Meal is very interesting because of its crazy jazz rap production. The sample really adds some harmonic diversification to the instrumental. I mean, the percussion on this track, you just have to hear it, it's insane. Like I said earlier, I just don't understand how JPEG Mafia makes these beats, how he decides to not only find and save these sounds, but put them and mix them together. It baffles me. It's genius though. The title track on this album, Scaring the Hose, is a very ominous track, not only because of its eerie saxophone sample, but also the clapping sample. Nah, but for real, imagine some man comes up to you, rips off your headphones and just hears nah. If you somehow haven't managed to give this album a try yet, I really would recommend you giving it a listen. It is constantly exciting. It's just head turning. To be frank, it's just awe-inspiring. I think it's fantastic. And to be fair, when I first listened to it, I just thought it was a bit too much, but as I've grown on it, I think everything actually comes together very seamlessly. This album is sick. But yeah, like I said, this album is so much fun to listen to, and it's awe-inspiring, which is really weird to say about an album called Scaring the Hoes. Now, I would have never seen myself putting this kind of album at number 1, nor really in the list at all, but I personally really connected with this album in 2023, and I could not have it anywhere else. Live at Bush Hall is Black Country New Road's most recent album, and is a live album which features 9 brand new tracks. And this is a significant release for them because this is their first album without their former lead singer, Isaac Wood, whose vocals and songwriting were borderline essential for the sound of the band's previous albums. In fact, you could argue they were essential for it. Their second album, Ants From Up There, was my second favourite album of last year due to its concept and its songwriting. So it's a pretty daunting task for this band to follow up that incredibly critically acclaimed album and very popular album amongst the music sphere with something new, completely new, without one of their most integral aspects. But they absolutely managed to, in my opinion. This album contains a lot of variety in comparison to their other albums, mostly because of the diversity in the songwriting, in the lead songwriting, and the 3 different vocalists that are present. Tyler Hyde is my personal favourite of the 3 on this album. She has the most songs, and she sings with such an intriguing instability and just pours so much emotion into every single track that she's on. I think this shared distribution of singing and songwriting really makes this feel varied and unique and very personal to the band. I genuinely do feel like we're getting a much broader palette of emotions and perspectives than we did on Ants From Up There or For the First Time. The first track, Up Song, really manages to capture the feelings of the band in a very playful and optimistic fashion. Look at what we did together, BCNR, Friends Forever. The wonder and positive energy of this track really allows the band to explore a variety of different ideas and songs, and it's just a bit of a banger in it. The song I Will Always Love You really is a standout to me. Tyler Hyde is reflecting on a relationship. She has clearly been done wrong and she's clearly been emotionally neglected, however she's still so much feeling and emotion for this person. I will always love you and I will always want you, even though we know time's not right. I cry at night for you. I'll hide the pain caused by your actions, even when I said that it's alright. I needed you so I could learn more. Who knows what you needed me for? For the first couple minutes, the song is very focused, and it feels like Tyler Hyde's vulnerability is being spotlighted by how bare the music is, only being accompanied by a soft flute and a somber violin. However, then halfway through, the song develops into a much more volatile state, which is spurred on by the introduction of some foreboding guitar arpeggios and drums. The rest of the band are then introduced, where Tyler is feeling more and more distressed with her singing. The band are playing with so much ferocity, and as it reaches its apex, it's very shortly cut off, almost as if Tyler is indicating that she's completely done with the subject. There's amazing structure to this track, and it's a fantastic song. A laughing song is also another highlight for me. This is another song where Tyler is reflecting on a previous relationship with someone, this time in a much more positive framework, but with just as much regret. I remember when I used to laugh, truthfully, without wearing my mask. I wasn't ready to live like that, had more self-destructive activities in hand. The honesty in Tyler's songwriting, accompanied with the uniqueness of her vocal delivery, make her songs feel so intriguing and emotionally potent. The climax of this song is utterly mesmerizing. The refrain, "What does that say?" is repeated once more, but then brutally accompanied by violent stabs of saxophone and then drums, and then further along by massive guitar chords and violin, then which the drum continues but the saxophone slowly wails out. And I think this musical section is so effective because it so perfectly illustrates the emotional outburst that Tyler is having lyrically. The frustration being brought on by having to repeat the refrain so many times, communicating the frustration she clearly has towards herself, and then also lasts a very short amount of time before we then hear Tyler again. And then when we do hear her, she sounds emotionally exhausted, even to the point where she doesn't even finish the final line, she chooses to cut the song off early and says the final line in plain speaking voice, as if to communicate to us that she's all burnt out, which she already did at the start of the track. Laughing at your own songs again. How we laughed. You made me laugh. Well, what does that say? Well, what does that say?
When I have accepted that no one else will make me laugh like that ever again.
It's amazing, but for me, the most heart-wrenching song on this album is the near 10-minute just masterpiece, Turbines/Pigs, beginning with a very delicate piano melody and then eventually transforming into another outstanding melodic climax. The instrumentation just has such a classical elegance, and May Kershaw sings on this song with just as much grace and finesse as the enchanting and fantasy-like musicianship. Honestly, I think I'm going to leave this one for you, because hopefully I can sell you on it and you'll listen to it yourself and you will really understand its gentle beauty. I absolutely love every song on this album, even for its flaws and its rough edges, and the fact that, you know, it's a live album, it's not really a studio album. It's difficult to compare to their previous albums due to that fact. What truly makes this amazing listen is not just the songwriting and the singing and the amazing musicianship, but the sense of camaraderie, the shared vulnerability, but the triumph that is conveyed through the attitude and the expressive songwriting on Live at Bush Hall. Because of the context of when this came out, the story behind the album, and the context that it's being delivered to us in, I feel quite uniquely connected to the performances on this album, and that's why it emotionally resonated with me most this year. So bravo, Black Country New Road. You got runner-up last year, but you made it this year, so well done. And that's my list. I'm sorry this video was probably a bit shorter than you expected. Last year I did 10. This year I've done 5. Obviously because I didn't really listen to as much music this year, and to be frank, I really want to work on some new projects. So I'm going to do that. Thank you very much for watching. Have an amazing 2024. Take care. I'm sorry, but this old geezer, I can't read this line. I wrote this line, yeah, and I'm going meta, but I wrote this line saying, I'm sorry, but this old geezer put every ounce of nut from his wrinkly bollocks in that bridge. I wrote this last night. What was I on?